Okay, so we all know who this man is, right? This is Jaleel, Steven, Q, Stefan, Urkel, White. Jaleel White, he's been in the media so much lately, and it's really annoying. And I usually am like a fan of Jaleel White, and I try to be on Jaleel White's side, but lately he's been getting on my last nerves. And I try to give him his flowers. He was Sonic in the original Sonic cartoon, and that's iconic. But he is getting on my nerves a little too much lately, and we need to talk about it severely because, Jaleel, why are you having such a public crash out? Okay? I understand that you were on a show called Family Matters. And I understand that that show was on ABC. And I understand it was on TGIF. And I understand that it was more so compared to a Full House than it was to any other black sitcom at the time. And yes, it is a family sitcom. And no, it is not like other family sitcoms that were on the air at the time when it comes to black people, nor was it like any other black show. And that's okay. Yes, it was a little bit corny. The show wasn't terrible. The show was not terrible. But after 4 or 5, 6 seasons, the show got really, really annoying because they kept doing the same trope 20,000 times. There's only so many times that we can listen to you go, "Did I do that?" and like flirt with Laura, who doesn't want you. Like it's getting annoying. And then in the end, when you end up with Laura instead of Myra, that also pissed me off because I was like, Myra wanted you from day one. The first moment that she met you, she was totally into Steve's intelligence and loved Steve for who Steve was. And every time that you would get into that transformation chamber and turn into Stefan Urkel just so that you could be with Laura, it broke her heart. Myra's heart was broken every single time. And it sucked. And so you and your character, to keep breaking up with Myra just so that you could be with Laura, it was annoying, right? So that whole plot was just dumb and stupid, and it was just unnecessary. And the trope of Steve was really annoying because I saw somebody else make a video about this, and it's really important to talk about. You made it really difficult for black nerds for over 20 years. 30 years. Like, you made it really hard for black nerds because black nerds are actually really cool people. Like, really cool people. You made it really hard for them because you were the type of black nerd that really no one was. Like, you were just the outlier. And then now everybody who sees a black nerd back in the day, they'd call them Urkel. Whether they wore glasses, whatever. If they played with Pokemon cards, if they were into anime, if they were into video games, whatever it was, that was their geeky, nerdy culture as a black person, they were called Urkel. And Urkel was the even outlier of the black nerd community because he was on some other stuff, right? And so it was corny, okay? It was just corny, right? And for you to insinuate that the reason that we don't, as a black community, value Family Matters the same way we value a Living Single or a Martin or a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or whatever is because the show was a family show and because it was on ABC and because those other shows are hood stories is stupid and ridiculous. And I don't understand why you thought that that was appropriate to say, considering Living Single is not a hood story. It is literally about 6 late 20, early 30-year-olds living in a brownstone in New York. Talented entrepreneurs, business people. Khadija, she was the owner of Flavor magazine. Maxine, a whole lawyer. Maxine Shaw, attorney at law. Kyle, he was a highly successful stockbroker. Overton had his own handyman business. Regine, she made it work at that boutique, but she worked her way up, and then she ended up working on that soap opera. And then she ended up having her own wedding planning business, okay? And even Sinclair, who worked for Khadija as the receptionist, wasn't just sitting there working as a receptionist, not doing anything with her life. She was also going to school. She was also trying to accomplish things. She was also, going to night school, trying to become an either something in the arts or an actor. And it was like everybody was trying to aspire to something, right? You have Martin, okay? Martin had a really successful job as a DJ. Gina had a really successful job as an executive. These people had jobs, okay? These people had jobs, okay? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, also a family show. It took place in Bel Air, California, bro. Bel Air, California. The family had money, bro. Money. That was the whole point. And then you had Will. And even Will, even though he came from, West Philly, he was in Bel Air to make a better life for himself. And he did. And he started going to school. And he went to college. And he was doing things that were making him have a better life. Okay, he got into trouble, sure. But who doesn't? And then he was trying to make a better way for his life. And he was. And he did. Okay? We had shows like Sister. They live in the suburbs. Okay? Hello. Ray had money. You had Moesha. They were middle class, if not just slightly upper middle class, but not really. They were mostly just middle class. But Frank, as much as we don't like him, he was the owner of a Saturn dealership. Okay? Be serious. Okay? Moesha would flaunt her little bit of wealth in her friend's face every chance she got. Okay? They had money. Not a lot, but they had money compared to her friends. Okay? These are shows that are not hood stories. And the only reason you called them hood stories, Jaleel, is because you're jealous that your show was corny and it was the black version of Full House, and you don't understand why that black version of Full House isn't widely regarded in the black spaces as one of those shows that we go back to all the time to watch. I'm sorry, but most of the shows, and not most of the shows, because a lot of those shows that I just mentioned, some of them have black writers and black creators, and other ones don't. The Fresh Prince did not. It was made by mostly white people. But the difference was that the cast was really strong. And not to say the cast was not strong on Family Matters, because we love Jo Marie Payton, okay? When she left during season 9, which I never watched, but when she left during season 9, you could see the void, I'm sure. That's sugar mama, okay? We don't disrespect, okay? You had good actors on that show from other places, right? Because some of these people had been on other shows or movies, and then they ended up on this show. And to be honest with you, that cast was worth it because you stole their show. You stole their show. And I know that's why Reginald VelJohnson and Jo Marie Payton sometimes get mad at you and are annoyed at you because you stole their show. Especially Jo Marie Payton. That was her show. She came from Perfect Strangers. They brought Harriet from Perfect Strangers to make Family Matters. That was her show. And you totally stole the show. So I don't even know what you're talking about. And then you have all these, and I haven't read your book, and I don't know if I will. Maybe, but that's mostly a maybe no, because I don't really know that I want to read your book, because you're just giving corny at this point. But you in that book, talking about Tatiana Ali and how she wasn't the way that, she was on screen because, you were on that one episode of The Fresh Prince and she didn't want to kiss you on screen because she was dating somebody and she didn't want to kiss you. Okay, and? Or you talking about, Gabrielle Union and how she called you out because you had all this money once you got into college and everybody else, on campus didn't have money like that and you flaunted your money in their face. Okay? Because that's not okay. That's not okay. You talked about all these women in your book, and it's gross because the way that you're talking about them is pretty misogynist, first of all, and you're just talking about it because you're mad that you didn't get any play. And that's not our fault. And then you end up with white women, and even that doesn't work out. So, Jaleel, maybe the problem is you, and I'm going to need you to really take a reality check and realize that I'm sorry, but Family Matters ran for too long. 9 seasons of Urkel? I don't think I could handle that. I'm so sorry. Laura should not have ended up with you. You should have ended up with Myra. And I'm sorry to say it, but the show was corny. The show was corny. It had some laughs in the beginning, but the show was corny. And as far as I'm concerned, seeing some of these interviews and watching some of these videos about your book, you are just as corny. And you've never been able to beat the Urkel accusations. And I'm sorry, but you're just like your character, unfortunately. And it's sad.